As well as using summary fields and calculations to summarise the found set or to summarise data in a related table, FileMaker has a built-in facility that lets you add charts to your layouts that will produce a dynamic graphical representation of the data. There are a host of different options for charts and graphs, but in this lesson I'm going to show you a single and fairly straightforward example of adding a bar chart that will give us a graph of publications by year for the current author record. To get started, I'll simply go into Layout mode, choose the Chart tool from the Status toolbar, and drag a rectangle on the layout where I want the chart to appear. As soon as I release the mouse button, the Chart Setup dialog appears, enabling me to get started by specifying the parameters for the chart that I want to add to the layout. First of all, at the top right, I'm going to enter a name for the chart, in this case, Publications by Year. And immediately below the chart title, I get to choose the chart type. The default is column, and in this case that's fine, but as you can see there are quite a few other alternatives. Next I need to choose the x-axis and y-axis data sources. If I click on the button at the right next to the data for the x-axis, I can specify a field name, in which case FileMaker prompts me to choose a field. In this case, because I'm creating a graph of publications by year, I need to go to a related table, the Publications table, and choose the year field for the x-axis. And for the y-axis, I'm going to need to do something similar. However, in the Publications table, I don't currently have a summary field that will aggregate data in the way that I need. So, right here from the Specify Field dialog, I'm going to choose Manage Database. And that allows me to specify a new field, adding it to the table on the fly. In this case, I'll call the field S for Summary, Publication, Count. I'll choose the type of Summary field, click Create, and choose Count of the serial number field in the Publications table. Now with the Publication Count summary field added to the Publications table, I can select it to provide the data for the y-axis of the graph I'm building here. Next, I'm going to choose the data source and indicate that rather than graphing the current found set, I want to graph related records. Notice that we have three choices here: the found set, the current record, or related records. And I need to specify here the table that the related records will come from, the Publications table. And because I want to group the data for the chart by the year of publication, I also need to choose a sort order for the related records for this chart. In this case, the publication year. In chart styles, there are lots of other options. For example, I can choose a shaded style, or a 3D style if I wish. I can choose a background, such as a linear gradient, in which case I get to specify the colours of the background, like so. I think I'll choose a much lighter colour because that's a bit too dramatic for this chart. I'll also choose a smaller font size, and I'll choose a different font. With these various changes, I'll now click the Done button and let's see what the chart looks like. In Layout mode, you can see Publications by Year is listed, and when I exit the layout, we have, for Arthur Koestler, 2 years with 1 book published in each year. And that matches the data we can see for Arthur Koestler in the list of publications above the chart. When I scroll to a different author record, you can see that the graph dynamically updates to show publications by year for each author in turn. Rudyard Kipling has only 1 book in the database at present, and it was published in 1965. Jane Austen has 4 books, 1 published in 1966, 2 in 1990, and 1 in 2006. So we now have a dynamic graph of the data in a related table. You can see that if I edit the data, for example, to correct a typographical error, as soon as I press Enter, the chart updates to reflect the new related data. So as you can see, adding a chart is a relatively straightforward matter, but there are many options. Again, as with calculated summary data, the charting functionality in FileMaker provides a vast array of configuration options for what data to represent, what chart style to use, and how each chart you create should look.